keyboard and some tea, lives a man with a funnel plan as clever as can be. He ditched his law degree for plugins that go zing. Now WooCommerce dances every time he pulls a string. Hey, evil genius! He's got
Alrighty, it is time for Friday Office Hours. It is Friday, March 6th. And I'm going to be honest with you guys. I feel like I got hit in the head with a mallet or something. The barometric pressure is like 31 millibars or something here today. It is pouring rain outside and my head feels like, so it's going to be interesting. We'll see if the caffeine kicks in a little bit. I took some Motrin. Good morning. Can you guys confirm for me that you hear everything okay? Today, I want to do the full catalog of MinuteLaunch components for WordPress, and I also want to do a roundup. Hopefully, I am joined by a few of our founding members, like Ann Stevenson and a few others. But let's see who's there. Can somebody give me a high five on the volume and such? Because I'm pretty sure it's working. Let's see. Yeah, it looks good. All right. Nobody wants to raise their hand. That's fine. I'll do it myself. Today, what I want to do is kind of bring you up to speed because there's been so many advances and it's moved so fast. But really, whether it be the business model or the components themselves, things have really started to unfold. And it's interesting to me that there is, good morning. There we go. I can always count on you, Lloyd. Thank you very much, my friend. I can definitely say that the business model for myself and many of you have started to unfold itself. And as a result of that, whether it be for your actual business or thank you, for your clients, the components that I'm going to share with you today are really coming into their own. That is to say that I am running full-fledged, I would say comparable to $50, $100, $250,000 software management suites that have been built bespoke, custom to a client in a very short amount of time. But what's really remarkable, what I'm going to share with you today, is I've achieved what is kind of the ultimate end game. I have demonstrably last night been able to set up Fernando and his boys live in the site of a client without using a FluentMCP to agentically create and manage a task list and update software for the client while I sleep. And then the client used the headset to talk to the dude and give him new tasks. I'm going to talk more about that. I don't even know where to begin here. So this is tricky for me. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to set it up and I'm going to show the screen. I guess I'm going to have to show the whole screen. This is hard because I have so much to share and I have so little real estate to share it. So if I put myself here, let's see if I can do it this way. You guys know the dance. I have to figure out which screen to share. And let me put it into this mode. Okay. You guys let me know if this is reasonable. I'm looking at it right now. And if I look at it on my laptop, it's frankly very small. It's not awesome, but it's going to be the best we can do. All right, let's come up to speed on some basic stuff. First things first. Here's my, I'm going to go to this magic login. Here is InstaWP. One of the things that I think it's worth mentioning, and I'm going to blow this up so it's just ridiculously big. One of the things that's worth mentioning is that everything that this entire ecosystem is built on is a platform that has a singular plugin to act as the interface to everything that's there. I'm going to zoom in for just a second. That is to say, over the last 18, 19 years of WordPress, one of the things that has annoyed me personally is if you were to go to look at the look at the WordPress repository, if you were to go to any site, like here's a pretty much blank site except for a couple of things, and you go to plugins, I think there's about 1,000 plugins. They do a shitty job, an absolute shitty job at this repository. And that's Mullenweg's fault. He's intentionally crippled this, and it was only recently that they actually maybe even added some improvements. But if you're trying to figure out what to use, there's 85,000 things at a flea market where the guy who runs the flea market has intentionally decided, I'm going to make this a horrific experience just so I can decide what goes where and why. Like if you go to the popular, I guarantee you none of these things are the most popular plugins. Okay. But I'm not here to complain about WordPress. I'm here to tell you that, look, it says 57,000 items, and there's definitely more than that. But this is not the right order. And imagine if you went to a flea market that had 57,000 tables at it. What would that experience be like? Can you imagine if you said to your client, hey, let's go down to the farmer's market. There's 57,000 tables, and we're going to find stuff for you to make lunch with. It would be insane. Insane. So one of the things that I set out to solve is, what if somebody, Spence, could create a system where anybody for free could download, just type MinuteLaunch.com ML, could download a plugin. And this plugin is a gateway not to eliminate the underlying system of WordPress, but to provide an alternative to having to install one of 57,000 plugins, or having to go to each and every single one of these particular companies, like God forbid Elementor, and going to their site and having to do everything they want you to do, and setting up a plan with them and buying from them and paying from them. So in other words, imagine instead of going down to a flea market, I have to reopen what I just closed. You don't have to do that. You can just get hosting from wherever you logically want to get hosting, hopefully something from Rocket or maybe even something from me. And in doing so, you can end up not having to install either free or paid plugins. So I just downloaded for free the MinuteLaunch plugin. And if I add that plugin, up until now, this would just install essentially nothing but the plugin manager along with the free MinuteLaunch canvas block. I'm going to show you what that looks like, because I'm going to show you how it's going to be different now. Just by activating this plugin, it gives somebody access to an entire different world, but not, again, at the expense of or instead of the default stuff, as an alternative. And I'm on InstaWP, so let's hope for the best. I've been testing this new Fluent toolkit, which, quite frankly, I might just uninstall here because it's clearly breaking this site. Let me do over. I'm going to add just a temporary site. Office hours. I was experimenting with the new Fluent CRM and Fluent Player this morning, and I have no idea what that's doing to the site, but it's clearly hobnailing it. So that's an alpha release anyway. Okay, let me try this one more time. And again, I feel like my head is going to blow up, so forgive me if I don't sound or act like myself today. All right, let's try magic login. Okay, I'm going to add this plugin, upload. And these are InstaWP sites. So this is like the lowest of the low of capabilities. When you do this, notice you get the MinuteLaunch canvas block for free. You get the Get Started guide. You get nothing else because there's no allocation. There's nothing here that I've given you. On the other hand, if I take this site, and I'm going to do this off the screen that I'm sharing with you, and I were to have somebody who paid for a license for either the MinuteLaunch software or the fully hosted version, I'm going to do a provisioning. And what that means is I'm going to use this system that provisions the license key as well as the hosting or whatever else. So all the software shows up. And let me just do that here, test at testing.com. And I'm going to give $5 of credit here. So the systems that I built can scale to tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, potentially of sites. What that means for you or for me is that when you purchase a subscription, or if you have clients that are doing so, that they can essentially have access to all of the various things they need without having to buy the keys, without having to start from scratch, without having to do essentially any of the hard things that are required when you're vibe coding, because it'll just be automatically taken care of. So let's refresh and see if this will kick in. One of the things that's also interesting here is that when I do the provisioning, I'm going to turn on and off the plugin because I'm using InstaWP. It has a cache in it. I usually have to just start it over. Let's see if I get lucky here. I added, unfortunately, because my head hurts, I added a slash to the end. Spence office hours. When I provisioned the site, I added a slash to the end. So it's my demonstration here is clearly not working well, but it's not because of anything to do with the site. It has to do with the fact that I just literally am working at half of a brain cell. Okay, let's try this. And once I refresh, what happens now is because I provisioned it. Good morning, John. Because I provisioned it, now I've got a situation that I've got all of the capable plugins. So one of the things I want to point out here as a difference between this and the WordPress ecosystem is these are like appliances in a kitchen where you've got a robot making whatever meals you want for yourself or a client. You guys already know about most of the stuff. But the other part of this is this update all plugins button means one button on one screen for you or your client means you're constantly kept up to date. Notice the API key manager. Notice that the open router key is already provisioned. I can, for free, go get a SERP key as the client. It's free to get. I could just go grab it and paste it in. It literally is easy for anybody to get. I could do the same thing for Noun Project if I want. Now, if I, as the client, or you as the person using this, turn on the various components, you can just safely activate all of them. And unlike WordPress plugins, these are virtual. So these do not require you to install or manage dozens and dozens, sometimes more than 100 individual zip files. Instead, this is extraordinarily simple and lightweight. If we were to look at what the capability is versus the plugins, again, I'm reviewing this for you. If I disable the plugin manager, let's look at what we've got. We have 0 WordPress plugins. 0. None. When I turn it on, I've got all the virtual plugins. Now, what I do is I go to MinuteLaunch Kit and I go to settings, because this is a feature I'll probably put on the top, but I hide all the notices and all the other nonsense from the leftover WordPress dashboard. This gives me quite a uniquely calm experience because I just hide the notices. And then combined with SimpleSite Focus, my entire experience now turns into something really quite lovely. The entire site and all the components is one of 2 tabs. Notice there's no crazy billboards. There's no spray painting. There's no Syed Balki's company installing stuff and spray painting the bridge for you and your customer. But what can I do with this? Well, I've already got the image editor and the core tools. Let's review the core tools that are in the kitchen. The image editor immediately gives somebody access, and I'm going to turn off SimpleSite Focus. This immediately gives somebody the capability of using their favorite image editing tool. I have GPT-5 Nano Banana to generate whatever they want, and they can even do a front-facing page for their clients to use this, or they could use MinuteLaunch Coach for that. So if, for example, I made a page, I could just say, let's put this on the front, add a new page, and display it. But this is what you would see. And for this, I can take an image from anywhere on the internet and modify it, or I can select from the media library itself. Now, let's say I needed some images in my media library. Here's the library. There's nothing in it. What a drag. Why don't we use the other tool, which is the P2P, that allows us to find images on the internet? And for that, I'm going to go to the MinuteLaunch Media Hub, and I'm going to use the image import. And I'm going to look for pictures of, let's see, George Costanza. I can put filters in place and come up with a million pictures. But let's just say, I'm going to save this image, and this one's funny, and this image, and this image. Now in my media library in the site, I've got 4 images. Wouldn't it be super cool if we go back over here, even using this manually, to our image editor, create an AI image? I can select from the library any of those particular images that I've already got. Let's use this one. And I can either use the tool natively right here to edit this, but it's easier to go here. And then I'll say something like, have him wearing a New York Yankees baseball cap, sitting at a game right behind the dugout and cheering his team on with popcorn and peanuts and a big foam finger waving as a fan. Now, I can also use the prompt builder, which makes it easier to tell it what I want to do this for. Maybe I'm doing it for social, and I want photographic style. I want to do full body, sunny. The mood is probably friendly, and natural colors. Okay, I want to avoid being cartoonish. I can make this a portrait or a landscape and generate it. Now, this in and of itself isn't anything that's remarkable anymore. Everybody's got the ability to do pictures. What's remarkable is this tool. This is a tool in the kitchen that you're watching me do manually, but I'm not going to be doing this manual anymore. I'm going to be using one of the AI guys to do this, not just remotely, but verbally, not just from my site. I can do it from a desktop. I can do it from the phone. I can do it from the client site. The tool is available, but all of the output is going to be saved in the media library. So as an example, if I went over here and I used the AI beta, and I was in whichever mode I'm using, I could use Opus or Sonnet, and I said, good morning, Fernando. Can you tell me today's date and time? I like to make sure he's connected. Notice he's saying user not found. What I like to do before I get too involved in testing these guys is I go to the plugin manager and I synchronize the server keys. And the reason for that is if I do that, I can make sure that everything works. In this case, I'm actually going to hedge my bets also. And I'm just, for today, I'm going to make sure that this provisioned key is a real key, because my provisioning system I'm still playing with just a little bit. Okay. Good morning, Fernando. What's today's date and time? Okay, good. He's working. Generate an image of a guy who looks like George Costanza from the Seinfeld show sitting at a Yankees baseball game behind the dugout, waving a big foam finger, cheering for his team with peanuts in his hand. Make it 16:9 for a YouTube video, sunny, photorealistic. Now, if you use the skill or you just used your words, unfortunately, my transcription tool failed there. You would end up with the situation very similar to what we just did when we programmed manually. Let's try it again. Good morning, Fernando. Generate an AI image of a George Costanza looking character, like the reference image, sitting at a New York Yankees game, sitting behind the dugout. Make it for social media, 16:9 portrait view. He's got a foam finger and he's holding some peanuts. Make it photorealistic and sunny. Now, if I just use the words, it's probably great, but I can supplement that by also just choosing a reference image here, which will more likely guarantee that the results come back as I wish. So comparing the two things, on the one hand, I've got a tool that's available to me to use. If Spence can remember where I left the screen, the tool is available for me to use whenever I want manually. But if I want to, I can also use it by way of verbal. And I got to close a couple of these things because I'm just going to bang my head, I can tell. I'm closing all this nonsense. I can do it verbally as well. Let's see if, by the way, I had some good luck because with all these dashboard items open, if I refresh the page, let's go back to my image editor. I have a bad feeling I just bailed out on it, so I'm going to maybe redo the thing, but I'm just going to copy this out. Let's see if we have some good luck. And by the way, when you're doing the image editor, when I'm using the key and everything else comes automatically from the MinuteLaunch plugin manager itself. So you don't have to keep adding the key to everything else. And if you chose a different model like Nano Banana or GPT-5, it will honor that. Let's just test that the key is working. Yeah, okay. So let me just real quick for the sake of argument, and I'll move on. I'll just choose this and I'll do the setting as I had it because we'll see what comes up. All right. Next, if besides doing media, I wanted to iterate on stuff, having the access to the stuff that I created in the media library is useful because it's available to me here to do other things, including creating content. I could be creating pages and otherwise. So the takeaway for today, just because I'm doing a roundup, is having access to the stuff you create through the tools on the back end is a building block for creating other things. What other things am I talking about? Well, first, okay, so here's the net result. If we view that in the media library, it's a damn good picture, I got to be honest with you. I can now use this in the front end when I go back here, because now there'll be in the media library something that he can build a page with. I can use this either manually or with a skill as a reference to say, create a new page with HTML5 using MinuteLaunch Canvas block about this image. Say it's the George Costanza fan page. Use black background, big, bold, white, sans serif font, orange and gray highlights, and some animation that indicates, you know, go Yankees, and put it on a MinuteLaunch Canvas block page. Doing that description is something that I'm able to do, but you really don't need to do that. There will be the skills that are built in that allow you to just say, skill, build a page. You see here, for example, you know, create a product, create a sales page, create a block, whatever. You won't have to say all that stuff. When you've created the page, give me a link, a clickable link to see what you've built. make sure you use the MinuteLaunch canvas block. Okay. Lloyd's asking, and again, I'm sorry, I'm so slow today. You used a branded name. Do the LLM models block or restrict? Yes, I'm going to show you something interesting because I have a lot to share with you today. But let me explain also what happens here. He's acting like a knucklehead because he's remote with Claude Opus. Let me show you if I did the same prompt in a tool that's more stable, which is the SimpleSite Builder. If I go in the SimpleSite Builder, who is designed to do this kind of stuff, and I say output canvas, Opus, I can use the media picture that I just said as the reference. Build a MinuteLaunch canvas, build a MinuteLaunch canvas block page with HTML, black background, big white, bold fonts, orange and gray accent, sans serif font. Do some animation. This should be the George Costanza fan page, an imaginary page about being fans of the Yankees, and have some animation that says "Go Yankees" that pulses in the middle. Create the page and give me a clickable link to show everybody here. One of the things I noticed is there's moral turpitude built into some of the major models. Moral turpitude is this. If I were to go to MinuteLaunch Claw, which I have over here, and I ask it to use a tool like get an image of somebody, right? If I say, this is a family-friendly show, but if I say, get an image of Sydney Sweeney, okay. She's an actress who's well known for being attractive, let's say. It'll pull up images of her. It can use the tool that I just showed you, like we did for George Costanza. If I asked it to get a nude image of her or a topless image, it will tell me, no, you cannot do that. I will not do that. If I asked it to take a picture that has a watermark on it, and I said, remove the watermark, it will probably say, no, I will not do that. These are baked into the models. How do we, let's say you wanted to get around that. You would go to something like Hugging Face. Hugging Face has something like a jillion models of independent LLMs trained for all kinds of purposes. If you did NSFW, you could find a bunch of different models that would allow you to do the things that Anthropic would not allow you to do, OpenAI would not allow you to do. I have the capability inside of these tools to use any model you want to use, but right now it's just the major commercial ones, because my intention with this MinuteLaunch is not to make, adult anime or something like that. But if you do ask it to do weird stuff, sometimes it's super annoying. Like, even if it's not an image, if you're asking it to do something simple, like just talk about weight loss or something, it can oftentimes frustrate you. And it's really weird because these are not tools that are supposed to be moral judges, right? Notice what happened here with this guy when I gave him the page. I'm not super happy with what he did because he didn't build a page, he built an image. This is part of where my skill set instruction creation is at. I need to make things clearer with one click of a skill button than is happening right now, because when I use a lot of words, depending on which model I'm using, they get confused sometimes. First of all, I didn't ask you to create a page that was a new image. I'm sorry. I asked you to create a page, a web page, and I also asked you to use the referenced image that's attached along with the other description. Can you please remake it? Okay. I'm going to go a little bit back on track here. Besides the image creation, besides the searching for images, besides doing research, besides skills, there's some other foundational stuff like the MinuteLaunch Social is a tool many of you started using, which really works well because this allows you to do things with whatever content you create and send it and post it socially. So you can connect it to a late account, enter your API key, and you're good to go. I'm actually using it here for sending out my own notices, and it works tremendously well. So if I do create an image and I want to post it or have the dude do it, I have it connected to Blue Sky, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and so forth. And for this, depending on where I'm interacting, if I'm on my AI beta, I can take one of these media images and let's see what I've got here. These kind of ridiculous images, but I'll take, well, actually, this is a good example because I'm going to show you something else. The MinuteLaunch research tool pulled up a bunch of interesting things, right? Like here's an image about something that I bookmarked. Let's do something that will be more obvious. Let's just use me and the goose. Okay. Use as reference. And I just say, post to Twitter and say, look, it's me with a goose sitting in front of the computer. I'm on office hours. I can say post to Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, Blue Sky, whatever. The social capability of doing this is interesting because I'm directing him to do it, but as I'm going to show you, hopefully in a couple minutes, my head doesn't fall off. I'm able to do this in another way, which is autonomously, agentically. I am working through some of the rough edges of some of the components so that they can act as a system. But the thing that I want you to take away from here is these raw components: make an image, find an image, create a page. This one is failing all over the place. I'm having the MinuteLaunch AI assistant is completely broken because he's just quite literally not doing anything I'm saying this morning, but that's because I'm working on him. Is I have a system where the components can operate the tools independently of me if I set them up on tasks. And again, normally I would be more animated about fixing this, but today I am so rough, I'm going to just say, watch the video of how this normally works, because it does normally work. And I have no idea why it's saying failed to generate image. That's not what it should do. Let's see. Let's try one more time. I talked to Anne before the show and she says, maybe you shouldn't do the show today. You sound rough. Post this image to Twitter. Say, look, it's Spence with a goose sitting in front of the computer. Let's see if I have any luck. All of this is mundane. I'm just kind of doing a quick review of the basic stuff, because what's really important here is not this basic stuff. What's really important there, it worked this time. I have no idea why it didn't work the first time. If we go to Twitter, we should be there. And there it is. Look at Spence with a goose. Okay. I'm going to delete that. Okay, here's the part that's really interesting. So now that we've got a system and it has a couple different AI interfaces, which I'll talk about in a second, all of which are under development, trying to come to a continual thing. And by the way, the coach is probably the best interface of all right now, but he's not as mobile friendly as what the AI one is. So I like the AI one for all purposes, but the coach is actually really outstanding for making access to all these tools for you and your members of your site. So if I were to enable the coach here and I were to put him on a page, let's make a page here, add a page. This is on the brand new office hours site, so we'll just call him coach. Let's also, even though I can do it with the guy in the site, let's just enable the cadence theme. I don't like the 2025 or 2026 theme because it's the default is like literally a quarter of the screen size. Okay, if I just go back to here and I enable the coach on that page, we get actually quite a nice result, both for building and previewing and other stuff. The coach is actually probably the most competent of all. So if I said to the coach, build me a MinuteLaunch canvas. Oh, you know what I forgot to do? One of the things I didn't do, which is maybe why he's having such trouble, is I actually forgot to click to enable and install the MinuteLaunch canvas block. This is what happens when you're out of it. I'm asking these guys to use a tool that doesn't exist. That might have been the reason I was getting those weird answers. Also, one of the things is with the coach, let's actually get rid of all this extra stuff. And let's try again. Let's see if we have a better luck this time now that my head is in the game. Hey, can you use the MinuteLaunch canvas block, and with the attached media file, can you make a fan page for George Costanza, have it black background, big, bold, white headline that says "Go Yankees," have that pulsing animated, use orange and gray highlights. It's going to be an embedded, so make it the full width page, no header, no footer. So one of the things that's interesting is the coach as an interface is really good for using on your site. He's not as mobile friendly in many ways because of the way the interface works. I mean, you can pop him out and he does work mobile friendly. I don't want you to think he doesn't. But what I'm finding, as you'll see in a second, is I think there's a better way to do stuff with the layout. That's why I'm choosing the other one. Let's talk about more complex stuff. What I've been doing the last few days or couple weeks, well, actually, hold on. Let's see what he built. Okay. I feel much better about this result than the AI interface, which is being broken. The coach I've not messed around with, so he still works as he should. And by the way, he's awesome if you want to just use him directly. He built exactly what I asked him to do. He did some research on Seinfeld. He knows these insider jokes, right? About assistant to the traveling secretary to Die Hard. I mean, he did everything I asked, and he built this, and he gave it to me in a way that I could immediately save it for future use. I could copy it and publish it. But the point I'm saying is I can also use it and preview it very conveniently. And since I can save this as a block, Costanza, this for me, even as the site owner, becomes very convenient, right? I've got a tool here that is able to build stuff, preview stuff, give me what I need in a way that is quite useful. But let's take it a step further. For many of my clients, like Video Instanter, I'm building full business solutions. So for example, here is the deposition scheduler. This is a video deposition service, a real company. They do 7 figures a year of business. They were using tens of thousands of dollars of out-of-date software. Notice the interface here, which is essentially turning their entire operation into a WordPress-based custom application. Everything from managing the clients, the depositions, the cases, the employees, the equipment, the fulfillment, the invoices, job assignments. This metaphor of this dashboard is something that I'm using again and again and again. I'm going to show you what I mean. If I go to the InstaWP here, I've shown this before, but like, let's look at the Hudson. Hudson uses a very similar dashboard. This has become a component that I can now call upon instantly without having to reinvent, including the focus mode. So you'll notice the common thread. When I click on focus mode, I now have only the application features for this particular client's thing. And with one button, it returns it to WordPress. These applications do the same kind of complex things, but for different businesses, right? Estimates, invoice, project, tasks. These connect to the CRM. These connect to the LLM so that I've got an AI-enabled thing. I've got the Pickleball site, right, that Colleen and I have been working on. You'll see a similar thread here. The backend component has this kind of a dashboard that is very useful, especially in focus mode for managing all the settings, whatever. But then when you go to the front end, we've got a very useful front end component that I can use for a variety of different things in other businesses as well. So it becomes like a mobile app, but it's really built on WordPress, and all of the features are using the same logic that builds on itself from the back end. I want to pause for a second to explain what I mean. So what I'm saying is, we started out with the fundamental tools. Can you make an AI image? Can you talk to the internet? Can you search and find stuff? Then I built foundational tools, like can you edit those images and save them in the media library? Can I have an interface that works on mobile? Can I have a guy that can build stuff and preview things? From there, I built dashboard components. Like here's an entire backend dashboard that acts as an interface for any kind of business with all kinds of custom features. Here's a front end mobile friendly thing that has a bunch of components that I can use. Why is this relevant? Well, it's really exactly like, you know, when I talk about IKEA, if you go to IKEA, like here's the Verklumpte, whatever cabinet. And then there's like the 6 different types of inserts, right? Drawers, plastic thing, wicker basket, half wicker basket. By making a series of components that all work together cooperatively, you have a multiplier effect, right? Like you have, here's the TV cabinet in this size and shape and what color. Then with the 6 openings, you can choose one of 5 or 6 different things that go in it and then choose the hardware. So very simply at IKEA, Ingvar figured out, flat packed, that I can build all kinds of custom furniture from just different components. Well, it's kind of the same thing, isn't it? Like Spence has figured out and given you essentially that you can start out with one plugin, right? One plugin. Let's go back here. With one plugin, you can have access to these core tools. These core tools work together or separately to build stuff through a variety of interfaces. But that once you can build the stuff, Spence is building some additional tools that allow you to have an elegant back-end interface or a front-end interface and do more complex things. What kind of complex things am I talking about? Well, last evening, something remarkable happened. I was using Goose. Hello, Goose. Goose is the open source free desktop agentic tool that's similar to Cursor or Claude. I started talking to him and asking him, can you, because I've given you FluentMCP, could you connect to the Video Instanter site and help me manage the task list that the client is using? Now, what's the task list? Well, let me show you. For Video Instanter, I created a new component called MinuteLaunch Laboratory. Video Instanter is a custom application using the components I just described to do the output for this business, replacing thousands of dollars of software that they normally have to buy. Steve, who is the owner, is very proactive in using the tools and explaining to me in his own way through what was previously emails. This works, that works. I wish it does this, et cetera, et cetera. And so he would continue to send me emails about things that he wanted to have done. I built him this task manager inside of the actual Video Instanter depth scheduler so that we could keep track automatically of what things needed to be done. That is, he could send in an image or a video or just paste in what he would have emailed me. run an analysis, and it would create a punch list. The punch list would show up as entries on the front. For example, here's a list of things I'd like to do as an example for office hours. And I could, pretending it was Steve. Number 1, make the header green. Number 2, add in a new thing that allows me to do pictures of my horsey. Number 3, buy lunch for the whole office. Okay. When I submit this nonsense, it would essentially create an entry. You can see one open entry. And from that entry, if I go here, submitted, I can just click analyze and build a punch list. Now, here's the remarkable part. First of all, I made this a tool inside of the custom application using the same stuff that is available to you. Notice he just made a punch list, which I can do whatever I want, and I could save the status that says, awesome, made by Spence. Okay, save the status. Now what happens is the task tracker has these new punch list items. Okay, so as Steve and I were talking yesterday, I was like, I wonder if I can get Goose to have a way to directly talk to the site and manage this stuff. And sure enough, I was able to build into the settings a new component, the lab access. The lab access gives a series of custom REST APIs. Think of it like walkie-talkies that allows Goose to instantly, just by clicking copy and paste, gave Goose the ability to see and edit whatever was on the task list. So for example, right over here, and I can ask him, hey Goose, I'm doing a live office hours. Can you see the task list on Video Instanter and tell me what items are left to be done today? So when I'm doing this was remarkable because this is a free desktop tool, which by the way, Goose has a mobile component. This was pretty awesome. So on my phone here, while he's looking it up, on my phone here, I have a Goose mobile app that allows me to click on WordPress task list, and exactly what you see on the screen is on my mobile phone. Why is this important? Well, last night, he did what you see here, office hours, demo tasks, 3 items, right? There's 1 question and 2 build things, just like there is here, right? If I put them side by side. Clarify if lunch purchase is managed, change header color, add a feature for uploading, right? Clarify if lunch purchase, I'm going to show him, just to demonstrate to my audience, you can do this remotely, mark all of those as done. Last night, I thought, well, if I can make them do this, which is awesome, I've now got a tool that's not just free to use, but also much faster to set up, because I think I breezed by this. But unlike having to set up the config file and everything else, with this, all you have to do is just click copy and paste this set of connection instructions to any LLM. Literally, you do not have to set up anything. You just paste the instructions in because they're on demand, ready to connect. And notice the task tracker is now at 0. He essentially checked all 3 of them as done. And if I filter for done, you'll see he marked it as done, ready for me or Steve to verify. Now, here's a little thing I added called verification. Steve can go back and see what was done and go, yep, verified, verified, verified. Why is that important? Because now Steve can know which things he's actually double checked on his own. But wait, there's more. Okay. Built the raw tools. I got the interface. It's 1 plugin. Automatically updates. You have appliances in a kitchen with a dude that can make stuff, build stuff, create stuff, manage stuff. Now I've got the capability of a desktop or a mobile agent that can do stuff for managing a task list where the customer is saying, these are the things that I would like to improve about my business or my plugin or my website. I said to myself, what if I gave him the capability to actually write the code? In other words, why do I need to be building the code on my desktop? Although I could. What if I said to Goose, you fix the code based on what the client has asked for, you update the plugin, and report to the client that it's updated, or to me. So I was like, okay, instead of Spence interacting and making the differences and uploading, what if he could do it autonomously? Now let's demonstrate this with a little experiment. It's a 3.18.5. I want to demonstrate for the audience here that you can manage and update the code. I don't want you to change the code other than one thing. I want you to do a new version to make it 3.18.6. Update the plugin on the site from where you're at remotely. So what's happened is I am now able, with Claude or Goose or whatever, to have it work on updating the client's custom application from anywhere, from my phone, from the desktop, whatever. And Lloyd's hinting at this. He's saying the task tracker sounds awesome for organizing, because watch what happens. First of all, he just updated the plugin on the site. If I refresh the page, notice up here, it's very tiny, but he updated it to version 3.18.6. Pretty freaking amazing. So just to pause for a second, I have a custom application using all the custom components that looks like a hundreds of thousands of dollars software solution. I've got an agentic tool that runs on my desktop or mobile who can not only interact with the customer, but keep track of tasks to be fixed and done, write the improved code, and automatically update it. With me so far? Here's where the real crazy stuff happens. I've been talking about, and I'm still working on it. Let's go out of focus mode. MinuteLaunch Claw. This is my version of Open Claw. Yesterday, we were just using this to show the Sydney Sweeney pictures. MinuteLaunch Claw has a voice that I can choose, English male. And he can tell me what tasks are left to be done too. What if, instead of using the desktop tool of Goose, what if I just gave the same capability to Claw? He lives in the office. He sleeps on the floor of the office. He could keep track of the tasks 24 hours a day, so that no matter when and if and where the client asks for changes, he could manage all of this and then report back, in addition to other things. So he can also be voice enabled. So besides enabling the voice here, good morning, Claw, it's Spence. Can you give me a list of any and all open tasks left to be done for our plugin development? So we still need to work on this, but what's happened is I'm asking him essentially to check on the task tool. Now he's a little confused, so watch this. I'm going to do what I just said to do. I'm going to remind him that he's got the capability built into here by taking the actual thing that I just described to you, which was the short code deal, not the short code, the set of instructions. So, because again, I'm still working on this part of it, but if I go here to settings, I'm going to give him to remind him what it is that he's capable of doing. So I'm just going to copy this set of instructions. I'm going to say, I just want to remind you, you've got the capability through the REST API tools to actually manage the list of tasks for developing this plugin for the video instanter depth scheduler. Okay, and I'm just going to paste this in. Now let's see if he acknowledges this. Normally you won't have to do this once I've got this like perfected, but this is like, I just invented this last night and it worked. So let's see if he's worked. Okay, notice now he knows what the hell I'm talking about. No tasks in the tracker, right? Let's see if he can write the tasks. So I'm going to say, awesome, now you understand what you're doing. Can you make up 3 new tasks that say task number 1, task number 2, task number 3, and demonstrate that you can put them in place in the task tracker? And I shut off the microphone while I was doing that. Let me do that again. Fernando, can you demonstrate that you can create new tasks using the same API? Make task number 1, task number 2, task number 3, and leave them open. And the reason I keep turning off the mic is because he's always listening to me, which is great. So I can do it in the car with a headset, but he can write the tasks and edit the tasks. And he can also schedule tasks, but he can also be looking for when Steve, the client, makes tasks. So the point of all this is, imagine, because let me tell him a different way. I just pasted the API for you to use the new tool to create items in the task list. Use the API. Let's see if I fix this. It may or may not work perfectly, but it worked last night. And the point is to just demonstrate for you where this is going, really, which is, imagine not just having a desktop tool or mobile tool myself. He's shitting his pants, so I'm not going to bother with it. Let's go over here and use to show you what it would be. Demonstrate how you can create 3 new tasks in the task manager with the very same API. Task 1, task 2, and task 3. Is to demonstrate that if I have the same capability as the desktop agentic tool inside of the site, and he's got, as you know, this ability to schedule tasks, he can be constantly listening and watching for any changes and then doing the plugin development himself, in addition to other things, which is the whole point of this. So let's just see, because I know the desktop tool works perfectly. If I go back here to the depth scheduler and I go to the laboratory, you'll see task 1, 2, 3 created perfectly by Goose. And of course, awesome, Goose, you did a great job. Can you delete those 3 tasks now? All right, let me make a comment here. Okay, so what does all this mean? What it means is that in addition to the other business models and ideas, I've got now a tool that can do the whole end run, either by a full MCP or even by a very specific to a plugin that I've written, shell into which I can pour a new idea. Now, I won't reveal what this is yet, but John Lawler is one of my progressive members here. John Lawler came to me last night, and I can only reveal this much, but he had an idea with a client, and I'll show you guys this when it's done. He interviewed the client, did a video. The client was very specific about what they needed. John, following instructions, thank you, John, sent me the transcript and the video. While I was at the gym, I turned that into a spec document here. The product name is going to be MinuteLaunch Referrals. I turned it into a spec document. So John gave me a video of the client and 2 documents. While I was on the treadmill lifting weights, I made it into this remotely. It's just taking a second to load. This morning, referral network intelligence for WordPress. This morning, I went ahead and created a new dude using this very same system. It's right here. MinuteLaunch Referrals. I asked the dude to take what my outline was and using all of the components, all of the same stuff, turn this into a single file plugin. You can see him writing it now as we speak, because I went off to have my coffee and the network froze. Within a couple minutes, he will spit out the first edition of this, and I'll be able to test it. What will this plugin have? Besides the functionality, it will have the standard dashboard interface. It will have a front-end component that uses those. It will have the built-in task manager, the API connection for a remote client interaction. It will have the other AI connectivity and tools. In other words, it will be like I went to IKEA and said, I have a brand new, John has a client who needs to decorate a bedroom. I, working with my guys, go, hey, get the verklumpte cabinet, the verklumpte bed, get the umlaute, drawer, do this, do that from all of the stuff that's available at IKEA. Now, how does this work out for practical purposes? John has a relationship with this client. John, if he chooses to, could tell the client, here's the final thing you asked for. Spence says, he doesn't have to say Spence. Spence says to John, John, I need $5,000 and I need the client to sign up for $197. John could go to the client and say, this is $25,000. This is $30,000 or whatever he wants to sell it for. Because I've had other clients, Irene and Antonio, who've taken a $5,000 VIP and sold it for $30,000 because it's worth it. I've got a client here who's got $66,000 of software a year replaced. You can ask what it's worth. I get $5,000 for essentially having my dudes create the final output. But the neat thing is, when it's done, it can have a white label interface that you or your client can interact with, where you don't have to invent the front end, the back end, the interface, the task manager, the improvements. The capability to self-improve will continue to improve and make this easier and easier and easier, especially when it comes to operations of the actual business. I am looking for these kinds of relationships where, let's say John does that, which I know he will. That client is going to be overjoyed. John will then hopefully take that client and use her as a referral to get 3 or 4 other people in her network who go, what is that crazy new tool you're using? And then that will be more referrals at whatever price John wants to sell it at. The base cost from Spence to continue to help is $5,000 per person. If John wanted to, he could just do it himself, get his own Fernando, take the original one and clone it 100 times, never pay me again, other than the platform. The platform is necessary to get all my tools and all the license for the tools, but it doesn't mean they're locked into my platform, because once they build stuff, they can take it to go. It's just to get the live action starting point. Let's talk about this other business. I want to just brag about something else. Besides the ones I've shown you that have like the research tool, like with Chrome extensions, right? So if I was looking at, AI news, and I saw something really awesome, I can use this flyout tool for MinuteLaunch research to capture this into my private library, which has been awesome, because all of this stuff that I've been collecting, I've been using for content and context here in my own research tool. Everything that I capture, look right here, is immediately available, re-enriched with AI, and available for me to save, share, or use for publishing. But besides that, I've also been doing a lot of work on this new Ask an Expert. I'm going to call this Ask Marnie right now, but I'm going to show you here. With my Cyrano combined with an expert. Now, Marnie is my client for a long time ago. Whether she decides to do more with this or not isn't the point. The point is this applies to anybody. She has 963 videos, 936 videos, 15,000 comments, almost 2,000 topics. I was able to come up with a system whereby I could take all of her online content from YouTube and otherwise, index it, notice, a search index, and from that create what I believe is the most incredible self-contained membership thing I've ever done. Here's what it looks like. with only 2 plugins, Fluent CRM and WooCommerce, and actually WooCommerce subscriptions, I now have custom branded all of her content available to play in a mobile friendly way, including being able to see your own favorites, right? Like out of 900 something videos, here's my 8 favorites, right? When I watch a video from Marnie, not only is this awesome because, by the way, it stays really well, that broke out of the thing. It stays nice and optimized in the phone. But watch what happens. I click Ask Marnie, and I can ask her questions about this video or anything else, and it will answer exactly like Marnie would, because it's using her knowledge and her voice from almost 1,000 videos and other content. You know, when is it appropriate to give a girl a hug on the first date? And she says, you know, here's the thing, you should hug, blah, blah, blah. These are things that are mind-blowing awesome, because now I've got a custom content library that I can search instantly on any topic, right? Out of thousands of videos. Look, there's the 8 videos about hugging. I can ask Marnie more questions and get into continuing this conversation, and everything I say and ask her is saved, but also it refers me to other things inside of her own library content. This experience for me on my phone is extraordinary. But wait, there's more. Now I want to actually use her advice for dating. Maybe I'm doing this for tax purposes, like filling out forms, maybe real estate investing, maybe it's for how to use the equipment in the gym. If there's an expert and she has herself and a bunch of other experts in a group, I can choose which coach from multiple coaches in the group that have been loaded into this to have give me answers about how to do the best tricep pull down or how to ask a girl out. I don't need that advice, but let's just say somebody did. Cyrano is the tool for interacting with outside sites. So now I take all of this information and I can have relationships with any number of prospective other people or sites. Notice there's the names of particular girls in this case, women. And I can use it to give me what's the next thing to do from the conversation that I'm in. And these all work together in a way that is absolutely freaking remarkable, because on top of it, I can also buy access, membership. So if I need to subscribe to get access, it's built in. For somebody who is offering membership content in a traditional way, just think about this for a second. Instead of futzing around with just the whole website and everything else, all this stuff, there's 2, maybe 3 plugins plus the MinuteLaunch system plus this interface that allows thousands upon thousands of videos, literally 15 years of videos and content to be condensed into a usable format that in and of itself becomes a beautiful membership site. Like, just look at this in normal website version. You do not need more than this to run a membership site. We don't need everything else. You don't need it. This literally is everything that anybody needs, because why do you need anything else if your main purpose is you're an educator, you're a trainer, you're an expert? We can put it into an interface that both is desktop and mobile friendly. And in doing so, I am able to, for example, have something that I offer to you that off the shelf. How many people do you know that have expertise that they're not using it well, or have trouble with membership sites or crazy stuff? By the way, this is connected, of course, to the CRM and all the marketing capability and all the other things that follow, because the data is all in one spot. By the way, this also has an agent that can post the socials, manage the new content, create the new content. Like, you see where these parts are coming together. Okay. I'm going to call Uncle. My friend is going to take me to lunch. My head is feeling a little better. I'm going to have a little more coffee. I want to say thanks to you guys for today, because today was really disjointed, but I hopefully have conveyed what's going on. Yes, you can. This is a great question. All your content, like from LearnDash, from Vimeo, from any source, anywhere, can be curated into this. This is what I'm trying to say is bye-bye LearnDash, buy a million places of stuff. One website with all these tools, a couple plugins with the rest of this becomes an enormously powerful, self-contained marketing membership machine at a cost of $197 a month with a $40 referral to you. Add on top of it a one-time custom curate and do all the rest of the stuff. Madness ensues. And this is just the start, because I want you guys to just think about all the tools I showed you today and imagine, like with IKEA, if I take this, snap to this with this and that and this, and Spence can make it happen. And all I got to do is show the client. By the way, I'm happy to show the client custom created solutions because, by the way, in the background, cranking away here, you can see Fernando is building this thing. I'm going to go to lunch. I'm going to come back and I'm going to send John the demo and rock and roll. And John is going to see the client, and hopefully John and I will have a good story to share about how he made his first $5,000 VIP sale. Whatever he charges on top of it is up to John, but he gets money on the monthly, and he'll get money on upselling whatever it is on top of it for the client and the multiple sales. I love you guys. Thanks for staying with me. Sorry today was, I don't know what to tell you. It's crappy outside. Hopefully I'll feel better. I'm going to the Hawks game tonight, so wish me luck. And I'll talk to you guys probably over the weekend with my Saturday and Sunday fun days. See you then.